Hey, what's going on, guys? Listen, normally I would never do something like this. You guys know I used to work in sports radio, and sports is like a passion of mine, but I don't really talk about it on my channel very much. But I had to right now for the thing that I'm sure most of you guys have seen, which is the fact that Luka Dončić was just traded for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round draft pick. So the first thing I did was didn't believe it. So I'm going to read some summaries here for you in just a second. But when I heard the trade, it was very much the same feeling. And I mean this, the same feeling I heard when I heard that Kobe had died in a plane crash. And I'm not being hyperbolic. The same feeling of like, this can't be real. And my brother left me a message on this. And I thought, he must be kidding. So I want to go over just a couple of things here real quick. I'm going to read this for you. I took this trade and I put it in 4 different AI models. For those of you who don't know how that works, you can actually use Perplexity or Poe and you can switch which AI model you're using. You can push the trade through the AI model and then you ask, is this trade rational or is this possible trade? And also for those of you who have the video game NBA 2K, you can also try to make this trade on there and see very clearly that this trade would get rejected in 2 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to read this for you. The global NBA world reaction to Luka Doncic's trade has been one of shock and disbelief and widespread criticism. This trade, which sent Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, has been described as one of the most surprising and controversial moves in NBA history. The initial response to the trade was so unexpected that many, including players, pundits, initially thought that NBA insider I'm going to say Sham's name wrong, but you guys know who Shams is, account has been hacked while he first reported the news. The trade's magnitude was such that it required multiple confirmations before people began to accept its reality. I'm sorry I'm having trouble speaking. I've been really sick, and I'm also having I'm having a lot of difficulty dealing with this, like actually being a reality. You notice that this trade is so unbelievably irrational that there are people who literally had to get it confirmed several times before they believed it was true. I had to get it confirmed several times before I believed it was true. But I just saw Bleacher Report ran something on it right now. Many NBA analysts and fans have expressed bewilderment at the Dallas Mavericks' decision to trade away their 25-year-old superstar. The move has widely been criticized as potentially one of the worst trades in NBA history, given Doncic's youth, talent, and potential. Stephen A. Smith, a prominent NBA commentator, expressed shock at the trade on SportsCenter. Guys, I want you to understand, for those of you who know nothing about professional basketball, it doesn't matter. Pretend you don't know anything about professional basketball. Those of you who are watching this, I'm going to speak to just the people who know nothing about basketball. One of the 3 best players of basketball in the world was just traded for he's 25 years old, by the way. He was just traded for an often injured 31-year-old player. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. Anthony Davis is a good player, but we all know this guy's going to miss half the games for the rest of his career. A 31-year-old aging injured player, a player who's barely played at all, who's 21 years old, Max Christie, he has potential, and a first-round draft pick. Let me say that one more time. One of the 3 best players in the entire National Basketball Association was traded for 1 first-round pick, which was unprotected. Max Christie, you guys know all about Max Christie, exactly, and Anthony Davis. If you have never heard of NBA basketball in your life, this trade doesn't even make sense to you. This trade, if I try to explain this trade to my 82-year-old mother, it wouldn't make sense to her. Now, if you guys remember, for those of you who do watch the NBA, you guys remember the Chris Paul trade. There was a trade where I can't remember if they were the New Orleans Hornets at the time they were owned by the league because the ownership went into bankruptcy or whatever, foreclosure. The league took it over, and then the ownership group tried to trade Chris Paul to the Lakers, and the league stepped in and denied the trade. That's probably what should happen here. I think whatever the Mavericks' relationship is with Luka Doncic is probably over, but you can't trade Luka for 1 first-round draft pick. For those of you who don't know, Rudy Gobert, who is a pretty much worthless offensive player and defensive player of the year, but can't guard anyone on the perimeter, was traded for 5 first-round picks. Luka Doncic who is one of the 3 best players in the world, was traded for 1 first-round pick. For those of you who don't understand American basketball, or don't understand NBA basketball, this can't even make sense to you. There's no possible rational reason. And again, if you guys want to have some fun with me, do this. Those of you who have fun with ChatGPT, or if you have fun with Claude, you guys like to use Poe or DeepSeek or whatever AI model you want. Push this trade through any AI model you want and try to get it to come out with a rational response. You will find none. Okay? Questioning the rationale. The rationale behind the trade. By the way, guys, I pushed this through several different AI models just because I was wondering, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the rest of the world doesn't see Luka as being as good a player as I think he is. Maybe it's just my own bias, being that I've been a Dallas Mavericks fan since 1980. I've been a Dallas Mavericks fan for my entire life. Maybe I'm just biased in favor of Luka, and I think he's better than he actually is, and maybe I'm wrong. But I read all of the rationale, and I read summarizations from every single person, every single pundit. I just messaged Jim Jackson. You guys don't remember, Jim Jackson was drafted by the Mavericks in the 90s. He's the announcer for the Clippers right now, and he also works for TNT. He's a friend of mine. I messaged him, and I sent him the results from some of these AI models. I can't come up with any possible rationale. And I want to say one other thing we have to go over. One other thing we have to discuss, and that is Mark Cuban, if he had anything to do with this, has not only alienated himself from every single Dallas Mavericks fan throughout history. If this is going to be something when he tries to run for president in the future, Mark Cuban, I'm not being funny here. Mark Cuban, whoever his political opponents are, will always be able to hold this over his head. When it comes to trade agreements with other countries, what you think that you can deal with other countries, you couldn't even deal with the Lakers. You gave up Luka Doncic for 1 first-round draft pick. I can literally see right now Vance going up against Mark Cuban during the election, and then Mark Cuban having to answer for the worst trade possibly in professional American sports. So I don't know what else. You guys can tell it's hard to make me speechless, but I'm pretty speechless right now. Some of the analytics. Here we go. The rationale behind the trade has been a major point of discussion. While some have tried to understand the Mavericks' perspective, citing concerns about Doncic's conditioning and the looming Supermax contract extension. His conditioning and the Supermax extension, every team was going to have the ability to give him a Supermax. And what they're saying is, if they get rid of Doncic, what if they get another player who's good and he wants a Supermax? So you can't pay anyone? That's the first problem. And the second problem is, Luka is so good that when you consider Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson playing for the Mavericks now, they wouldn't play. The Mavericks would not have had the leverage to get those 2 players had they not also additionally had the desire to play with Luka Dončić. Third, Luka, there's no signs that he asked for a trade, which makes this even furthermore irrational. Meaning, if he had asked for a trade, then I could see you saying, okay, 1 first-round pick. But because he did not ask for a trade, like the same thing with the Jimmy Butler situation. Jimmy Butler, because everyone knows he wants to be traded, they can't get a fair deal for him because they know they could just rob the Miami Heat. The Mavericks could get a fair deal because Luka has not asked for a trade, but they did not get a fair deal. They got the most uneven deal in history. If the Mavericks had received Giannis Antetokounmpo and a first-round draft pick, I would be very upset, but that would have been a fair trade. If the Mavericks had received Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 4 first-round picks, I would have been upset, but that would have been a fair trade. The Mavericks got an aging 31-year-old Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick that is unprotected. And you want to know why it doesn't matter that it's unprotected? Because the Lakers are going to win a lot of games because now they have LeBron James and they have Luka Doncic. And I'm telling you right now, I'm sorry, I got to take a breath. Hold on. The rationale behind this trade has been a major point of discussion. While some have tried to understand the Mavericks' perspective, citing concerns about Doncic's conditioning and looming Supermax, most reactions suggest that people find this move irrational. Financial implications. Some analysts have pointed out the significance. By the way, just so you know, the Mavericks were recently bought. About 70% of them were bought by the Adelsons. And this is the wife of Sheldon Adelson, who owns the Venetian and the Palazzo here in Las Vegas, and I believe they own Allegiant Stadium. They don't own the Raiders, but they own Allegiant Stadium. This same Adelson bought about 75% of the Mavericks from Mark Cuban for $3.5 billion, somewhere around that. Forgive me, I'm foggy on the details. What I'm saying is the idea of the financial implications also doesn't make sense when you consider the fact that they're one of the wealthiest owners in the entire NBA. So money really should not be a few tens of millions should not be an issue for an owner that wealthy. One other thing I want to point out: the Adelsons had a plan to work with the state of Texas to try to get casinos legal in the state of Texas. Got news for you, Adelsons, if you're watching. That's done now. No one is going to support you or any of your ideas about getting gambling legal in the state of Texas when you have made yourself persona non grata. And I would actually probably recommend that, at least for the next few weeks, the Adelsons not make any appearances, or any of the representatives. I know Sheldon Adelson's wife, his son-in-law, her son-in-law is running the team. If I were them, I would not make any public appearances for the next several weeks. And I'm just saying this for your own benefit and for your own safety. I would not make any public appearances in the state of Texas anywhere for the next few weeks. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. It's a state with a lot of people with firearms. And for your own protection, I would not show my face anywhere, because you have been a party to the greatest swindling possibly in all of American sports, save for the trading of Babe Ruth for a goat, whatever the lore was. This is, from my estimation, unless we find out that Luka Dončić asked for a trade, demanded one, and it turns out that he had structural necrosis in his calf muscle. That's the current injury why he's not playing. That was going to cause him to have his leg amputated. This is the worst trade I can remember in my lifetime. And I remember the Minnesota Vikings trading 15 draft picks for Herschel Walker. This is the worst trade I've ever seen. Some analytics pointed out that the financial implications for Doncic, as he was set to become eligible for a historic 5-year, $345 million contract this summer, this aspect has added another layer of complexity to the trade's perception. Well, I got bad news for you, because the Lakers, they can't sign him to that either. Comparisons of other trades. The trade has been compared. Now, this is the only thing I can come up with, is that Cuban, he believes that the money for the NBA is drying up, because have you seen some of the ratings for the NBA has gone down, which means the new TV deal is not going to be able to keep up with the Supermax contracts. And this is one of the things where Mark Cuban always thinks that he's smarter than everyone else. So he's going to try to get out in front of this. But the reality of the situation is, if that were to happen, then the cap would adjust based on whatever the total revenue for the owners is. I believe it's somewhere in the 55, 56, 57, whatever the cap is an adjustment. It's something percentage of revenue. While there would be a possible difficulty, dude, you don't even own the majority of the team anymore. Whatever financial constraints this was going to put on the team in the short run would have been alleviated, because the rest of the league was going to have to deal with this. And the Mavericks had one or two of the wealthiest owners in all of professional sports. In fact, the Adelsons are more wealthy than Jerry Jones. So this made absolutely no sense. The trade has been compared to other controversial moves in the NBA, with many considering it even more shocking than previous high-profile trades. Some have drawn parallels to the 2018 draft night trade between Doncic and Trae Young. Again, a horrible trade for the Atlanta Hawks, which has long been considered win-win, but is now being reevaluated in light of this new development. In conclusion, the global NBA world's reaction to Luka Doncic trade has been overwhelmingly negative, with most people viewing it as an irrational move by the Dallas Mavericks. The trade has sparked intense debate about team-building strategies, player valuations, and the future of both franchises involved. Guys, I'm sorry, this is not my thing. I talk about sports all the time, but I don't talk about it on this station, on this channel. Not only have the Mavericks sort of buried themselves with their fans for the probably until Nico Harris is in the grave. And I don't mean any harm to him, but I'm just saying he'll never be forgiven for this. But in addition to that, Mark Cuban's presidential run is now over. I don't know if he recognizes this because he's just going to be looked at through the lens of stupidity whenever he tries to make his presidential run. And the Adelsons bid to try to get legal sports gambling in the state of Texas, that's over with as well now by the idiocy. Again, the apparent idiocy of maybe there's some facts here we don't know, but from everything I'm reading, I haven't seen, there's nothing on the internet at least that expresses anything else. Could the Mavericks play well with Anthony Davis? So the thing is, Anthony Davis isn't, he's been playing well this year, but the problem is he gets hurt more than Luka. So you traded a young player for a player who gets hurt more than Luka. My problem isn't with as much with the Mavericks trading Luka Dončić, which of course would break my heart as a Mavericks fan. My problem is with the Mavericks trading Luka for 1 first-round draft pick. Let me say that again, because I think some of you, maybe you think my connection was bad and you didn't hear what I just said. He was traded for not five first-round draft picks the way that Rudy Gobert was traded for, or 4, or 3, or wasn't it 4 that was the trade that the Clippers gave for Paul George? It was like 4 first-round draft picks or something like that, or 3, or 2 first-round draft picks. No, Luka Doncic was traded for 1 first-round draft pick and a 31-year-old Anthony Davis. My friends who are Lakers fans have also been messaging me, and they're also in disbelief because this doesn't make any sense even to them. And to all of them, hey, listen, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. You got Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber back together again, which is pretty cool, with Luka Doncic. That's going to be interesting to see. But if I were you, I would also be concerned that maybe there's something nefarious, possibly illegal, going on between the agents that are now running these GMs, which the agents may have forced this trade. Also, the NBA itself, because of this, the NBA itself, Commissioner Silver, the idea that all you guys ever wanted to do was get super teams in New York and Los Angeles, that's a narrative that other people, conspiratorial people, have been pushing towards the NBA. Well, now that narrative looks extremely real. You guys you blocked the trade of CP3 to the Lakers. If there's any rationale with Adam Silver, which I'm sure right now he's probably fielding more pressure than anyone in the country, with the exception of maybe Nico Harris and Mark Cuban, he's probably considering not letting this trade go through. There is no rational reason this trade should go through. I don't know what else I can say, guys. If you guys, like I said before, if you want to have some fun with this, what I would recommend you do is go on any AI model and then push through the trade. Just say, hey, does this trade seem rational to you? And then ask for any kind of perception from anywhere. Because usually there's like 2 sides to this. There's no 2 sides to this. This was you giving away your Rolex watch for a hamburger. There's no rationality behind this. The Mavericks aren't better in any way because of this. And whoever if they had a myriad of draft picks and were able to get far underneath the cap, I could understand that. But this is a situation where one of 2 things has either happened. Either Cuban has hamstrung the Mavericks for financial reasons, which makes very little sense considering the fact that he's only 30-something% owner of the team, and he's also not in charge of the front office, or this is a situation where the ownership impelled Nico Harrison to make this an unbelievably irrational trade, which not only, I don't believe, okay, so just so we're clear, I don't think that Nico Harrison, who's been making one great trade after another, could any way in any rational form have come up with this trade. This is a trade for money. This is something that comes from the top down. And the worst part of it is he may have ruined his own career. There's a 4th person. The Adelsons are not going to get their Texas casinos pushed through after this trade because they've shown a complete and total lack of regard for the people. I know it's going to sound like hyperbole, but I'm not. I don't think you guys understand how much the people in Texas love Luka. I don't think you understand the Adelsons who are going to try to push, with the help of Texas lawmakers, make it legal for there to be casinos in the state of Texas. That's over with now. There's no lawmakers in Texas that want to come anywhere near the Adelsons. These people are nuclear waste at this point after this is done. Nico Harrison is going to have to take this on his record for the rest of his career, however long or short it is. It's probably going to be much shorter now. He's going to have to live with this massive L for the rest of his career. He will be known for the rest of his life, literally on his gravestone. It will be known as he's the man who traded away Luka Doncic for 1 first-round draft pick. He will die with that on his gravestone. Mark Cuban's presidential candidacy is now over with as well, because his opponent will always be able to use this incredibly irrational move against him. He's going to have to distance himself. Now, granted, he may distance himself in the next week or so. He may distance himself from this trade, but he's going to have to. But if he doesn't, then his presidential significance is over as well. And any other expansion you thought with the Mavericks is done as well. I would not be surprised if we saw Klay Thompson or Kyrie Irving all of a sudden getting injured and then not wanting to play. Some people are like, there's more to this story. Mark Cuban does not qualify for MOA. What's the story? Yeah. Is there more to the story? The only thing I can come up with, is the only other issue, like I said before, is a situation where several of the agents are in cahoots and basically said, if you don't do, like maybe the agents have said, hey, we need Luka to play in Los Angeles and you're going to make that happen. And then the Mavericks were like, no. And they're like, well, I guarantee you Luka will not sign with you. I'll make sure he doesn't sign with you. And I'll also make sure that the Dallas Mavericks never get to sign another big name free agent in history if you don't do what I say. And whatever big name agent goes to the Mavericks and basically strong arms them into this, that's the only other possibility I can come up with, because the level of irrationality here. So hold on, let me see here. If is anybody else? What's the story? Mark Cuban. There's more to the story. I agree. There's definitely more to the story. Let me see what else. What else you guys have to say? There has to be more to the story. This just happened on a random Saturday. It's exactly right. Agreed. Intriguing. Oh yeah, Democrats should be desired. Yeah, I mean, you guys can see. Cuban is just like, again, Mark Cuban has ruined any chance he has for running for president. But it doesn't. Hold on, let me see. Do we have anybody else? Michael, you're 100% correct. This is worse than the Trae Young trade. Welcome. Let me see here. In his prime, no pride. He's also a Democrat. That's pretty funny. Why are you so serious? Still a disbelief. Yeah, I mean, Mavs going to lose in the first round of the play. Mavs won't make it to the first round of the playoffs because Anthony Davis, I believe, is currently hurt right now. I think the Mavs got better to win now and possibly next 2-3 years. So King Williams, I don't know. Are you an AI bot? Because Mavericks did not get better to win now. The Mavericks were just going to wait until the calf injury healed and they would have made it into the play-in and maybe gone to the NBA Finals again. So this doesn't make any sense. Anthony Davis is going to get hurt. It's like you can set your clock to it. It's like Zion Williamson. The idea that Anthony Davis is somehow like less likely to get hurt than Luka Doncic. Please wake up, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Win now. No, the best chance for them to win now. This is, dude, some of these people are like, they're repeating what Nico saying. Yeah, AD and Kyrie about to cook. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are bots or if you're actually being serious or you're just trying to troll Mavericks fans. Anyway, so I had to do this. He goes, yeah, LOL, I'm joking. Yeah. Trade for big and they're contenders again. Yeah, you Lakers fans are delusional, but like as far as your delusionality is concerned, the most delusional Laker fan with all their delusionality. I mean, Laker fans make Yankee fans and Cowboy fans look incredibly sane. As far as all your delusionality is concerned, if I came to you this morning and said, yeah, AD for Luka Doncic and a first round draft pick, you would have laughed at me, be like, there's no way the Mavericks would go for that. And you'd be right. Anyway, that's all I want to say. For those of you who, like, sometimes I try to make these videos. For those of you who feel like you've lost your sanity, I want to remind you, you're not insane. This doesn't make any sense. Certain things don't make sense, and I want to remind you of your sanity here. All right, so anyway, you guys can leave in the comments whatever you think. I could see, like, I could see a federal lawsuit behind this. I know this sounds absolutely insane, but, like, I could absolutely see a federal lawsuit for collusion, because it would have had to have been something from the Lakers to impel. It's not, again, one more time, it's not that they traded Luka. Superstars get traded all the time. Is that they traded Luka for a bag of donuts. In order for them to get such an advantage over the Mavericks, that tells me that feels a lot like collusion. And I would not be surprised for something of this magnitude for us to see some sort of like federal investigation into collusion. Adam Silver, your league just lost a significant amount of credibility because before there were people who thought that you wanted the power teams to win more games, and for there to be these power trades that, you know, the whole thing about Patrick Ewing going to the Knicks, of course he was, because it was New York. Whether or not this is true, the perception is you do look like your league is fixed and you need to do something about it. I do think this may be there's one last thing, like I said before, there's all this talk about the, you know, rev share going down in the NBA because of the television numbers. And then this is like Mark Cuban thinking that he's smarter than other people getting ahead of it. But again, this is something all 30 owners. The idea that Mark Cuban is smarter than the other 30 owners, we've obviously seen is stupid. If you don't believe me, he let Tyson Chandler go because he was trying to sign, God, I can't remember his name anymore. Dwight Howard, the guy, the closeted dude. They tried to sign Dwight Howard. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless here. Anyway, I'll do more of these lives, and obviously I don't do lives on sports very often. Mark Cuban owns 30% of the Mavericks. You are incorrect. Yeah, Cuban is cooked for life. He's never, if I'm Cuban, I can't even step foot in the state of Texas again. Cuban is cooked for life. The Adelsons are cooked for life. Nico Harris is cooked for life. And I really do think this is going to have some negative implications for Adam Silver as well. I would start, again, I'm going to say this before. You heard it here first. I would look for a federal investigation because this is a level of collusion. This doesn't make any sense. Cool. Luka's going to play point guard. People are asking these questions because you don't watch. Luka is the most ball-dominant player in the NBA. He's got his usage rates in like the 35 percentile. I think maybe LaMelo Ball is higher than him, but he's going to play point guard, and then you're going to have probably LeBron play off the ball. Anyway, if you guys message me about this, who I got in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, there's just no way. Kyrie, Clay, and AD are all past their prime. Like this team probably won't even make the playoffs. Cool. By the way, I'm not saying I'm still a Mavericks fan. I just I do feel betrayed by ownership, and I need a little bit more information. I need to see their rationale, the rationale that I heard from Nico Harris that this is they just want to trade offense for defense. I mean, I feel bad that he had to go out there and lie in front of people. It makes me think that he was impelled to do this. All right, guys. I love you guys. Thank you guys for listening to me rant. There's no way. This is a historic moment. For those of you who don't watch sports, trust me, you have any male family members who don't even watch NBA basketball, even they're shocked by this. Even again, if you have an 80-year-old grandparent and try to explain to them that one of the three best players in the NBA was traded for a 31-year-old who's injured half the time and a first-round draft pick, and then try to see what their reaction is, and then you'll see kind of what my reaction is too. You don't have to know anything about baseball or basketball or football or sports or soccer or anything to understand what happened today has no basis in rationality whatsoever. Take care, guys.